So I am very excited to introduce to you today the library's new course reserves tool, also called Leganto. But before we get started, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping notes I wanted to go over with everybody. First, we may not have time today to address questions you have about specific items or requests or courses. If you do have a question about a specific request or a course, you're welcome to reach out to reserves@drexel.edu, and they'll be happy to go over everything in as much detail as you like. And I guess I'll pause here and say that I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record today, uh, in that I really do encourage everybody here who has any questions about course reserves to contact the reserves team at reserves@drexel.edu. They're a great team. They monitor that email account very closely, and they're your best shot at getting a quick answer to your course reserves questions. Okay, so reserves@drexel.edu. I also wanted to make sure that we have time to go over everything today and also have time for questions at the end. So to help us get there, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, if you could just write them in the chat, we'll answer them all once the presentation is over. And of course, you are welcome to hold your questions and then raise your hand at the end, and we'll answer your questions at that point. Another quick note, we will be working in a test environment today to avoid the confusion of submitting requests into the live system. So just a heads up that we may experience some system slowness during the presentation, but I want to make sure that everybody knows that you shouldn't be experiencing this kind of lag in the live environment. A couple last quick notes. One, we will be recording today's session. And I think that's it. So without any further delay, I'm just going to dive straight into our session. And I'm going to do that by just quickly giving everybody an overview of the new system and how we got here, just to give you the lay of the land. So Leganto, which is the vendor name of our new course reserves system, is currently replacing the library's previous course reserves software called Aries. And the timeline for that is, again, I'm very, very excited to announce that we went live with Leganto for both faculty and staff members at the start of the spring quarter, so April 1st. So it's already been a little over 2 weeks. And we have been building toward that go live date for the past several months with the help of a small team of library staff members and also some of our colleagues from the instructional technology group. Now, why did we decide to move away from Aries and to start using Leganto? There are a couple of benefits to using Leganto. The most important of these, I think, is that in addition to integrating with Blackboard Learn, Leganto also integrates closely with the library's catalog, which means that any request that you place for items that the library owns or has full text access to can be added directly to your list of course readings with no additional processing time. And the system also allows faculty members to track student engagement with assigned reading materials. So very exciting. So those are just some of the benefits to Leganto I wanted to highlight first. As we move through this presentation today, I hope that you will see for yourself the additional benefits and the usability of the new system. Okay, so I think the best way to explain and show you is to share my screen with you and walk you through how you can hook your Blackboard Learn course up to the system and place requests. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. And okay, share. Okay, so Zoom tells me that I am sharing my screen. Linda, because I can see you, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, so first step is showing you how to link your Blackboard Learn course to the system, right? And for this demonstration, we're going to be using this test course, HSAD 562900. Now note, this is a test course. It looks like a real Blackboard course, but is 100% not real. So the first thing that we're going to do is click into the course. Once you click into the course, you're going to navigate to the upper left-hand corner of the screen. You see there is a small icon that is a circle with a plus inside. Hovering with your mouse over this icon will cause a drop-down menu to appear. You're going to navigate down to Tool Link. Once you click Tool Link, a little menu will pop up and you'll be prompted first to choose a name for your link to the library's course reserves system, and it can be anything that you like. So for example, I am going to name this link reading materials. Okay, but you can choose any name that you like. Now, once I have chosen a name for my link, I need to specify what kind of link it is by clicking this drop-down menu, and you can see there is a long list of the different features and tools that Blackboard has available. I'm interested in Drexel Library's course reserves. So I'm going to click this option. Now, underneath the drop-down list, there's an option here available to users. If you click this link, students will be able to see the link to course reserves. If you don't click this option, they will not be able to see the link. So please make sure to click this link so that students can see. Hit submit. And there we go. Our link is created. And that's the first step. So we're going to move straight into the next step, which is setting up our list of course reserve items. And we do that simply by clicking the link that we just created. Get rid of this little guy. Okay. Because this is a brand new course and we've never accessed course reserves here before, we'll be taken to a landing page where we are given 3 different options for creating a list. The first one is creating a list from scratch. The second one is copying an existing list from a previously taught course or another course that you're currently teaching, etc. And then this third option down at the bottom you'll see is ask your library to create your list. The libraries does provide a service wherein if you supply us with a copy of your syllabus, we can go through and add all of the items on that syllabus to a reading list for you. Place any requests to buy items, digitize items for you, go through the whole thing for you. Note that this is a little bit of a lengthy process, so if you're interested in taking advantage of this service, I think that you can expect probably a 1 to 2 week turnaround time, depending on the size of your syllabus. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to click Create a New List. And here you can just see some information about the course, confirming that what course you're linking the list to. You can add some additional information in the list description if you like, and hit Next. So now the system is going to prompt you for how you would like to organize your reading list. Now, it defaults to organizing your list by a term week breakdown, right? And the quarter has 10 weeks, so the default number of weeks is 10. However, if you are teaching a semester course, it's easy enough to just change this by changing to 15 weeks or however many weeks. And you can see that your list organization will automatically update. Now, if you're not a big fan of organizing your list by term week, that's okay. There's a couple of different ways that you can change that, and I'll go over one now and another one in just a little bit. The first way that you can change that is just by clicking this drop-down box, and you can change the organizational structure from term weeks to required optional. So now you just see 2 options here, required optional. You can make additional changes to the way that your list is organized, and I will go over that with you guys in just a second. But for now, let's just stick with term weeks, 10 weeks, and hit Create List. All right, here we go. We have created our list. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of this page before I turn things over to Linda, who will take you through how to place course reserve requests. Starting here, up here at the top, you can see our course information. You'll note here that our list is in draft mode, right? And then over here, if we click List Info, again, we have our list info again, but what I want to draw your attention to is this information down here where we have an instructor's information. Right now, that's me. And then we have this option called collaborators. Now, if you are co-teaching a course or maybe you're creating a master course that you know will be taught within many different sections, and you want other people to have access to this course. You want people to be able to copy this list into their own course. You can do this by, or have access to it in some other way. You can do this by adding them as a collaborator, right? Or let's say you have an instructional designer that you know is going to copy this list into many different courses. You can add them, you can give them access to this list by adding them as a collaborator. And you do this simply by click this Manage Collaborators link and add collaborators. You can type in their name, their Drexel user ID, any sort of information along those lines. So for example, let's say I want to add Linda as a collaborator. I can type in her last name, and there she is. Okay, and hit save. An email invitation was sent to the new collaborator. Linda will receive an email confirmation alerting her to the fact that she now has access to this list. All right. Okay, moving on along our reading list tour, I want to draw your attention down here to this menu of options. Now, the add button we'll dive into in just a quick minute, but I do want to make sure that you see this manage sections option. Now, if you click manage sections and you hover over any of these sections that we just created when we set up our list, you can delete them. You can change the name and you can reorder them. So let's say, for example, I want to move week 1 around, right? That's fine. I can move it down here. If I go over here and I click this section menu, I can delete it. So now there's no week 1. But let's say I've deleted week 1 and then I change my mind. I want a week 1 section after all. If you come over here to add and come down here to new section, I can create a new section and I can call it week 1. I can call it finals week. I can call it anything that I like, but I'm going to call it week 1. I can add a description. I can add a start and end date. And then down here, it's important to note that you can choose where this new section will appear. Of course, after you add it, you can click and drag it just like I just showed you. But I want it to appear first because it is week 1. So I'm going to hit add, and there it is, just like it never went anywhere. Okay. Now next to manage sections, we have this filter option. Once you add items to this list, this is the way for you to filter the view of those items. So if you just want to look at a specific subset of your course reserves items. So if you use a due date feature, you can limit by due date. If you use tags, you can limit by tags. Type, you can limit by book chapter, book, article, video, all those sorts of things, and status. So for example, if you only want to look at items that have not been completely processed, you can do that here as well. But there's no items to look at yet. And if you don't want to use filter, you want to look for a specific item, you can again search your course reserves item using this search feature. Okay, just a couple more things before I turn things over to Linda. Over here on the right-hand side of the screen, there are a couple of different features that I want to just go over with you very quickly. The first is this Discuss with Library tab. If you click this tab, this is essentially a chat box. Not synchronous chat, right? It's just a way for you to send a quick note to the library about something that you want them to know as the library staff are going through and processing your course reserve requests. So you can type anything that you like in here. So you can say, please contact me about the reading for week 3. Anything that you like. And library staff will receive a notification and will follow up with you directly. Now, if we click out of this, you'll see that we have that the icon has now updated to indicate how many messages there are. When library staff respond, this icon will update and you'll see a 2, etc. Okay, so underneath Discuss with Library, we have this Student Engagement tab. Now, this is a test course, so we're not really going to see any examples of student engagement here. There are no enrolled students, but I can just show you the layout of what that will look like. So here you can see our student engagement is broken into 2 sections, some general list level data as well as item level data. And you can see how many students are active in the course, how many students have viewed the full text. If you use the due date functionality, you'll see that here, and how many students have checked things out. And if students choose to use the Mark as Done feature, you'll see that there as well. Now down here, again, speaking a little bit more specifically about due dates, if you choose to utilize the system's due date feature, both students and faculty can use this to keep track of when specific readings are due. Okay, let me just do a quick check to make sure I haven't missed anything. And I think that I've gone over everything. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn things over to Linda Sadusky, who will take you over how to place course reserve requests using the new system. Take it away, Linda.
Okay. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen. Okay. I am currently in the course, the same course Catherine was just in. I'm going to click on the link that she so graciously gave me as a collaborator. So here we are. First thing I want to mention is to add items to your reading list. We highly recommend that you use our library's Dragon Search. And for those who may not know what that is, it's our discovery search tool for resources, including books, articles, databases, library guides, and research collections. But it also includes items that Drexel does not own, which is why we recommend that we use it. So to add items to your reading list, you click on the Add button here, and then we're going to select Add Items using Drexel Library's Dragon Search. And then up comes the search box, and you notice two things right away. There we have default set up for search everything and include print books, DVDs, and other items without online versions available. These are the defaults, and we recommend that you use them, but you can change them if you like. For instance, if you click the drop-down box, you could say that you only want to search the library catalog. So we are going to add our first item, and that item is an online article from one of our e-journals. And I'm going to type in, you can use keyword searching, but I'm going to use exact title searching for this demo. Type in the title, hit search. Wait for the results to come up. And we are looking for this one here from the Lancet Journal. You can see that full text is available. Just hit the plus sign, and it will bring up this window. And you have there's two choices of where to add this item. You can add it to your reading list, or you can add to your favorites. And Catherine will go over that after I'm done. The other thing that you can select is what week or that you want your students to read this item. You just hit the drop-down box and you can select any week you want. For this demo, we'll just keep it at week 1. And then you just hit the Add button. And because this was an electronic journal, and it automatically links to it, and there's nothing else that we need to do. And so that you can see what it looks like in your read list, I'm going to close this out. And you can see it's right here, and there's a link to the article right here. And this is already available to your students once you make your list ready. So now we're going to add our next item, which is an ebook. So again, I'm going to hit Add Items. And I'm going to type in the title of the ebook. And I'm going to choose this one here. I'm going to hit the plus sign. Again, you have your choices of where to add it, either list or favorites, and what week. We're just going to leave it as is, and then click Add. And again, because it's an electronic book, it automatically links, and you can see it in your reading list already, and there's a link right there. Okay, the next item I'm going to show you is a book chapter. And this book chapter is from an ebook, so I'm just going to actually type in the title of the book chapter itself. And we're looking for this one right here. I'm going to hit the plus sign. Again, I'm just going to leave things there and hit the Add button. And again, because it was from an ebook, automatically adds, and the link is right there. Now say you wanted to add a book chapter from a print book. We can do that too. In that case, you may not know the book chapter title, so I'm going to type in the title of the actual book. Okay, and here's the book that I won. As you can see, it is in our book collection. So I'm just going to hit the plus sign. Again, your choices. So I'm just going to leave it as click the add button. And in this case, Leganto, your course reserves knows that we've added a physical item, so it gives you these options. Since we want a book chapter, I'm going to click scan a portion and enter the book pages for the chapter. And then I'm going to hit OK. And so you can see what that looks like. Here you go. And as you can see, there's a tag that's going to alert the reserves team that this is a book that you wanted them to scan a chapter from. And they will go ahead and do that for you and post it. And then you'll see a link to the actual chapter right here. So I'm going to click add again. And this time I'm going to search for streaming video or DVD. Here it is here. I hit the plus sign, add. And again, it knows it's a physical item and it knows it's a DVD that we want streamed. So we'll just select that and hit OK. And again, this is how it looks in your reading list with a tag stream physical DVD. The reserves team will see that. And if it isn't already streamed, we'll stream it for you. Okay, so the next item, say you want to actually put something on reserve that Drexel does not own. We can do that too. You can just type in the title of the book that you want. Hit the plus sign. Add. And again, it knows that we don't own it. And you have these choices. You can either purchase the ebook or a physical item. You can have pages scanned if you want. We're going to say we want to purchase the ebook. So hit OK. So so you can see what that looks like. And here you go. And that's an acquire electronic item. Reserves team will see that and know that you would like us to purchase the ebook for that. Okay, the last thing I want to show you, say that we own the print book and it's currently in the regular stacks and you want it moved to reserves. We can do that too. To the print version of this book. Here we go. You can see that it is currently shelved in the Haggerty Library Temporary Health Science Collection, but we want to move it to reserve. So we just hit the plus sign. And I'm just going to hit add. And here you can select, I would like to place the book at the reserves desk and hit OK. Okay, I will close it. And here you can see it says move to course reserves, and the reserves teams will see that and go pull the book, process it for reserves, and add it to our collection. Okay, so that's all I had to show you. I will unshare my screen and Catherine can show you other ways to add items.
Thank you so much, Linda. So let's go back to our course. Okay, so just a couple of more options for ways to add items to your list. Again, I will reiterate what Linda just said, and that is for 9 times out of 10, clicking this first option is going to be your best bet, right? But there are a couple of other options available to you. Let's start here, add to favorites, add from favorites. Again, the new system does have a favorites feature that you can use to compile items that you think are interesting and might want to use later.
Would you share your screen, please?
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me know that I hadn't shared my screen. Can everybody see my screen now? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, hopefully there won't be any more technical difficulties, and thank you again for letting me know that I hadn't shared my screen. Okay, now let's say I am searching for items for a specific course, and let's just say I'm searching for items on media literacy. And the system is loading. And I am searching and I'm searching and I'm just browsing, like looking through different options available. And I find this book, Discovering Media Literacy, Teaching Digital Media and Popular Culture in Elementary School. And I think it looks interesting, but not for any course that I'm teaching right now. So I hit Add Item to List. And instead of selecting List, I hit Favorites. And I hit Add. And you can say item was added to favorites. And then later on down the line, I'm finally teaching a class about media literacy. And so if I come over here to add, I can hit add from favorites. And you can see here that this book is on my list of favorites. And you can see I've added a couple of other items, and I can just hit add item to list. Great. And again, it doesn't matter whether or not the library owns the book, we can still add it to our favorites, right? So again, you can add items that we have available full text and maybe items that we want the library to buy. So again, let's say I want the library to purchase the ebook. And again, regardless of whether or not I'm adding it from my favorites list or whether I'm adding it directly from the catalog, the options are the same. So that's how to use your favorites. Okay. Other options on this list. Let's say, in addition to wanting your students to have access to articles, stream videos, books and books chapters, you also want to upload your syllabus. If we click Upload Files, this is a way that we can upload pretty much any file. And you can also upload folders. For this example, I'm just going to show you a file. Now, underneath, there's a very simple file upload box. We can click here to browse for a file. And you can choose the file from any place on your computer. The system will automatically pull in certain information, including the document type and the file name. Down here, note that we also do ask for a copyright declaration. This is just to help us process the item appropriately. We have 3 options. You can say that you think that this file should be available via fair use. You're not sure, you want the library to review, or no declaration. Now note that regardless of what you choose, we do just a quick double check for you just to make sure that all of the files that you're uploading comply with our fair use policy. But let's say this is the syllabus, I wrote it, so I'm going to click no declaration. The library asks for just some additional information. So how long you want the item to be available. Of course, I want it to be available through the end of the term. And then it's 2 pages long. Additional information, if you have it. Choose a place on your reading list that you would like this item to appear, week 1, and hit add. And the item appears. Library staff will review to make sure everything looks okay from a copyright perspective, and then we'll process the item appropriately. Follow up if they have any more questions for you. Moving further on down the list, I want to draw your attention to 2 additional options, which are sadly not next to each other, but are very similar. The option to add items using a DOI or ISBN and add items not in Dragon Search. So Dragon Search has a lot of items in it, as you have seen, right? Things that we have, things that we don't have. It's a really, really big catalog of items, but it doesn't have everything, right? And sometimes you just want to directly add something using DOI or ISBN. So we're going to start using here the DOI or ISBN. Let's choose DOI for this example. And I'm just going to, from my cheat sheet, click and drag this DOI that I would like to add and hit next. You can see that from the DOI, the system has identified what item I'm looking for. At this point, the system will just ask me to confirm that all of this information looks okay, it looks correct. Looks okay to me. All the citation information looks like it was populated correctly. It's going to ask me to choose where I want this item to appear in my list, and I can choose whichever week that I like, adding additional notes for students and due dates if I like, and hit add. And so here we go. Here it is. Okay. Again, if you have the DOI, I will just note for everybody's sake that you can also search for DOIs using this feature up here, and it will be able to find it. This is just an additional entry point for you. Now, additionally, add items not in Dragon Search. Like I said, Dragon Search has a lot of stuff, but it doesn't have everything, right? So let's say, for example, I want to add this book. I want my students to read this book. You're never going to believe it, but it's not in our catalog of scholarly resources. That's okay. There's still a lot of value to this book. So we're going to start by telling the system a little bit about this item. It's a book. The title of the book is Behind Every Great Woman is a Great Cat. And it will take me to the next page. On this page, I can add all sorts of information about this book, right? You'll note that there's only one required field, and that's ISBN, right? Again, the ISBN is the unique identifier for any item. You can also put a DOI in here. We also understand that there might be situations where you just don't know what the ISBN is, right? Or the DOI. You're just not sure, and that's okay. In those situations, you can put NA or not sure. The system will still let you submit the request. And at that point, library staff will see that information is incomplete and will contact you and we'll figure it out, right? I will note that if that this is obviously knowing what the ISBN or DOI number is the quickest way to get your request processed, but we'll work with you to make sure that anything that you submit is processed as quickly as possible. Any additional information, especially if you don't know the ISBN or DOI, is helpful for us in these situations. But luckily for us, we know what the ISBN number is, so we're going to hit next. Again, where do I want to put it? Let's put this one in week 1 and hit add. So because we put the ISBN there, the system did a quick check and noted that this is a book that we do not have. But luckily, I do have a copy, and I want to put my copy on reserve at the desk. So I'm going to click, I would like to place the book at the reserve desk, and hit OK. Now the system has identified that I'm going to provide my personal copy to add to the reserve collection and has assigned it appropriate next steps. Okay. Now we skipped over this one, so we'll go back to it. Import references. Now here, references is referring to citation managers. So RefWorks, Zotero, etc. If you do use any of those citation managers, and you have a specific list that you have created in those managers that includes all items that you want your students to read for a specific course, you can export that list from whatever citation management system that you use and then import it into the library's system. And we can do this by choosing from file. This page will prompt you to choose a file type. It's a little bit limited. But these are the common file types that are used in citation managers, and then upload the file. You'll note that the system has additional integration with Zotero, which is an open source citation management tool. So if we click from Zotero, in advance of this demonstration, I linked my personal Zotero account to this system, so I could just give you guys a sneak peek at what it looks like. So these are all of the items that I have uploaded to my Zotero account, and I can add any of these, right? So you can see there's all sorts of things here. There's books, there's blog posts, there's articles, websites, all sorts of things, right? This is a LibGuide, and I can add any of these. Add items to list week 1. And there we go, added straight from there. Now, again, in advance of this demonstration, I linked my Zotero account to the library's system, but if I hadn't done that and I wanted to, I could do so by coming over here to the settings menu and coming down to reference managers. And so you can see here, my Zotero account is linked to the library system, but if it hadn't been, the system would then prompt me through and tell me exactly what I needed to do to link my Zotero account. Additionally, if you have trouble at any point in that process, you're welcome to, again, email reserves@drexel.edu, and our reserves team will help you through the process. Unfortunately, right now, the system only connects in this way using Zotero and RefWorks. RefWorks is not something that we have a license to as a university. We have EndNote licenses, although I do understand that this sort of deeper integration with EndNote is on the roadmap for Leganto, so we can expect that feature at some point in the near future. No timeline for that, though, unfortunately. Okay. So we've gone through all of the options for adding items to our reading list. We've added everything that we want to add, but there's one very important step that we haven't completed yet, and that is we have not clicked My List is Ready. So by clicking this List is Ready, you're telling library staff members that you have added all of these items that you would like to add, and you want us to start processing, right? You want us to start buying things and digitizing things, et cetera, et cetera. So we click My List is Ready. And my list was published. We'll follow up with more information about any outstanding requests. That's it. We're done. Now, if at any point in time you change your mind and you want to unpublish your list, you can absolutely do this by clicking this hamburger menu, coming down here to Unpublish List, and this bar will reappear. You can add whatever items that you like and then hit My List is Ready again. And again, it's published again. You can do that as many times as you need or like. Okay. There are a couple of extra things that I want to show you before we wrap things up for the day. The first is, what do you do in an unfortunate situation where one of your students reports that a link to an online resource isn't working? They're getting an error message. Now, of course, what you can do is email reserves@drexel.edu, as I'm sure some of you have the experience of having done in the past, and the reserves team will continue to assist you in that way. The system does provide an additional avenue for reporting these sorts of problems, though. Let's say, for example, that the problem item is epilepsy in adults. Oh no. If you click full details, you can see right now there are many different ways to access this resource, but let's say the problem is with this first one, Elsevier Science Direct Journals. If you hover over this access option, you can see that there is a feature called Mark is Broken. If you click this link, the system will ask you to provide a little bit more information about what went wrong. So you could just say error message. If you've taken a screenshot of the error message, you can upload the file here and hit confirm. Okay, the report was submitted. Thank you for your feedback. Library staff will be in touch with you. In the meantime, if you don't want your students to click this bad option and get an error message, you can hit hide link. Note that by hitting hide link, you're only hiding it for this particular course. It doesn't do anything with access outside of this course, right? Cool. So now your students will not see that broken link, and library staff can investigate and will follow up with you. And then lastly, this help icon. If you click this help icon, there's a whole list of different resources that you can access to learn more about the system. Of course, you do not have to click any of these links. You're more than welcome to contact the reserves team, who can walk you through any of these processes directly. But if you're more of a self-learner and you prefer to learn on your own, these resources are available to you. The vendors' instructional resources are all open source. They're available to anybody online who's interested in learning more. So for example, if you want more information about logging in and creating a list, you can click either the article or the video. And if you click the article, what it will do is just take you to the vendor's documentation website. Again, you do not ever have to click any of these links. You don't have to read any of these resources. Absolutely do not have to. But if you would like to, this information is available to you. Again, you can just contact reserves@drexel.edu and we will answer any of your questions about the new system. Okay. All right. So that takes us to the end of our planned content. So we are going to switch gears and start answering some questions. So Stacy, do you know if have been any questions in the chat? Actually, I can probably check myself.
Yeah, there's a couple. Is it easier if I read them out loud to you, or do you want to read them yourself? I'm happy to do whatever.
I can read them myself. Thanks, Stacy. Okay, so first question. What happens if an instructional designer tries to access Leganto in a course before they are added as a collaborator? Can they access the materials in the course anyway, or does this cause any problems? That's a good question. So what happens if an instructional designer is the first person to access Leganto in a course? So right now, what will happen is Leganto will see, just like in Aries, Leganto will consider that person to be the faculty member, although we are in the process of fixing the system so that that Leganto already has all of the course information. And so the appropriate instructor will show up, which means there will be absolutely no impact whatsoever. They can access materials in the course anyway. Yes. Does this cause any problems? No. Teresa, does that answer your question? Was there something more specific that you wanted to ask?
I think that kind of helps.
Mhm.
I guess
Oh, I'm sorry, Teresa. I can't hear you.
is that better?
Yes, go ahead.
So I just trying to figure out what the best workflow is, because I know I've learned the hard way in Aries that I've gotten in and then I turned out to be the borrower and we had to undo a bunch of things. So I know I made sure that the instructor, borrowed the materials first and then I put them into each week and things like that. But it looks like once it's in the tool, the students go directly to the tool. So we're not putting the links directly in each week like we used to, are we?
So you're talking about adding links to Leganto in different parts of the course shell is what you're talking about? Got it. Yeah. So the way that Leganto works is like this. You can add a link to Leganto in as many different parts of the course shell as you like, but it's always going to take students to the same screen, basically.
That same week screen with everything.
Exactly. So if it's a convenience for students to not have to click around and find the link to Leganto, you can absolutely add the link to Leganto in as many places as you like, but it's going to be the same link every single time.
Okay. So it's not linking to individual items. Like for Aries, I was able to put a link to the actual article that was on the Aries list in each course. You know what I mean? In the course.
I do. I get what you're saying. And I think that this is a really good opportunity to just, I guess, explain a little bit more about what Leganto is and what it isn't.
Okay.
So Leganto is really meant to be a way for faculty members to organize all of their course readings in one list, right? So it's not really built to be links to be a place where you can link to individual articles.
Okay.
It's not really what it functions as. So trying to make it do that, it kind of, it's tricky. And in fact, I think that Aries isn't really built to do that either, which has resulted in some issues along the lines, where it's just because it's not really built to do that.
Right.
We've kind of made Aries do that in the past, but again, it's a little bit of a clunky workaround. So again, if what you're looking to do is link to a specific article, right? You don't necessarily have to use Leganto to do that, honestly, right? There are benefits to having all of your course reserves in one place and having the library staff members help mediate, just make sure that access is working. But you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
Yep, I like using Leganto. I like using the library course reserves, and to me, it's the best open educational resource available. So I do like using that. I guess what I'm just trying, the instructional design side is trying to make sure that it's chunked up so that the students aren't going to the main page and having to search through all the weeks to find what they need for that particular week. Like sometimes on the instructional design side, we like to just each week provide just that week's readings chunked up at a time, if that makes sense. So, but if I put the Leganto tool in each week, it's going to take them to the whole page of every week, and they're going to have to still search on their own.
Yeah. But again, I do want to just remind you that you have more customization features in Leganto than you did in Aries, which means that you don't have to break things up by week if you don't want to. If you want to break things up by assignment, you can. So again, you can delete all of these sections and create your own. And if that's the kind of route that you want to do, I suggest that when you're creating your list, you choose the required/optional organizational method. Then you only have to delete one or two, and you can create whatever sections that you want, right?
Got it.
So it's up to you.
Right.
The world's your oyster. Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
Okay. I'll have to play with it some more and try it
Mhm.
then. But I appreciate that. That helps a lot.
Of
Is there a
course.
workflow you suggest that's best in working with faculty for us
Mhm, mhm.
in terms of supporting them? Because I mean, on the Leganjo side, there's a lot of options, which is a lot of work for faculty, which, for us, our job is to make it easier for them
Mhm.
and offset some of that workload for them. But of course, by the time they articulate a lot of those choices to us, they could have done a lot of those things themselves at the same time. So trying to mitigate some of that and kind of like the best workflow and trying to help them. Is there anything that you suggest?
Absolutely. So I'm going to start us off, and then we're lucky here that both Linda and Ashley are here, and they do a lot of the day-to-day processing. So I'll invite them to add their thoughts after I'm finished. So I will start by saying that the simplest way is, again, I'll just reiterate, add the link, right? Create the reading list. And then when you come up here to add items, use this first option to add things, right?
Right.
And then make sure that you choose the correct option, whether you want us to buy something, scan it, or whether or not you're going to bring it yourself to the library so
Right.
that we know how to process items efficiently.
Okay.
That's the quickest way to do it, right? And then, yeah, I think that that's the quick and dirty list.
Okay.
Linda, Ashley, do you want to add anything as far as like what's the easiest way for faculty members to get their items into Leganto?
I think that pretty much is it. I mean, processing looks different on ours, like on the back end, obviously on our side than it did for Aries, but I mean that's pretty much it.
Right. Yeah. So that's what just trying to figure out the best way that I can support faculty in that process. And I guess it's the adding of everything. So if they give me the list, then I can add everything and look onto and do all the searching. It's probably the best way that I can help them.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. Good questions.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. Can you copy an Aries list to the new system? Great question, Cindy. When we switched to the new system, we migrated the most recent 4 years of course information along with any sandbox and administrative term courses, right?
Catherine,
Yeah.
Catherine, I'm sorry. She said, can you copy an APHIS list?
Oh, I'm sorry.
AEFIS.
I just figured that was a typo. Cindy, can you explain what an APHIS list is? I'm sorry for my ignorance here. Has Cindy left the room?
Yeah, it looks like she's no longer here.
Okay.
It's your name on the list at least.
Okay. All right. Well,
I can
then-
copy the chat and then we can follow up afterwards.
great. Let's do that. Okay. Okay. Diane says, please verify that you have to unpublish to add items after one's first published submission. Good question. You don't have to. You don't have to. But it does make it a little easier to, I guess, for if you want to make sure that your students don't have access to an in progress list, it might be better. Cool. Where can I see my list of favorites? Good question, Teresa. So you can see them, honestly, the easiest way when you're in a list is by hitting add and then add from favorites. And then you'll see your list here. Limited functionality, unfortunate, but true.
Can you show that on your screen, Catherine?
Oh,
I didn't.
absolutely. Absolutely, Diane.
Thanks.
Okay. Sharing my screen. I will actually hit share this time, which is the missing part of the process last time. Okay. If I go up here I'm in a list, if I hit add from favorites, here's your list. Again, you can sort by title, author, limited sorting options, or you can search if you have a bunch of items on this list. As I said, limited, and you can click and drag them to rearrange them as well. Will it let me? Nope, just kidding. All right.
So a
Go ahead.
follow-up question on that. The only way it gets into your favorites is when you're in Leganto and finding something, go, oh, that's a favorite, not anywhere else outside, like in the library or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. Good question though, Diane. And we are investigating additional ways to make Leganto available to you through Dragon Search. So like just through the library webpage, but we haven't implemented them yet. So stay tuned, watch the space.
So I guess my other question is, so once it's in my favorites and say, I want to read it while it's in my favorites, I have to access it through add my favorites and I can open it and look at it some more outside of that? Is that how
Yeah.
it works?
Again, this feature really is, I think the intention of this feature is to make it easy to just add items to your list that you have found through previous searching. Mhm.
Okay, so it's stuff that I already know about, not collecting a list, curating a list of favorites that I think I want to read some more.
Correct. So again, this is a favorites for Leganto course reserves. If you are talking about curating a list of favorites outside of Leganto, just for your reading pleasure, right? Or for your, for reading, I think that there are other ways that you can sort of keep track of those. In fact, I think that there's a way that you can do that within Dragon Search. You can like save items, and that you can access that just by accessing the Dragon Search, and you can access that from many places. So there are different ways of doing that. Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Now I'm sharing my screen. Stacy, can you take over reading questions? I want to keep sharing my screen in case I need to show someone something.
I can.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what was the last one you asked?
It was about favorites.
Okay, great. Then the next one, if I'm finding it correctly, when my course is copied for other sections that other faculty teach, does the faculty of record need to activate or connect Leganto to each section?
Right now, yes. Yes. So again, the process is just generally speaking, you have to create a connection, just like right now with Aries, you have to create a connection between Blackboard Learn and the system, and then add the link to Leganto, right? So you create the link, you click the link, and then you create the reading list. It's a very similar workflow for Aries, right? Again, we are working on a system where you only have to add the link, right? You have to add the link to Leganto and then copy things over, right? Or we can help you copy things over. Was that a good answer? Do you want me to try answering that again? Did I understand the question correctly?
Yes, you did. I mean, right now in areas we have to go into that one and reconnect it, and then
Mhm.
find it, copy this one, and then so on and so forth. So it's the
Mhm.
same process basically still. Okay.
Yep. Right now. Again, we are working on a process where we can get course information loaded directly into Leganto, so we can kind of do some of that for you on the back end at your request. But right now, the process is the same. Mhm. Okay, great question.
And that was actually the last question, although Anne put a link to the APHIS in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Anne.
If that's
I might have to, again, having no specific knowledge of that myself, I might have to do a little bit of research and learn more about it. Cool. All right.
Thanks.
You guys have been a great audience. You asked so many great questions. Thank you to Linda and Ashley for your support and providing additional information about our system. We are not going to vanish off the face of the planet after this session. We are available to you to answer any questions you may have. If you run into any bumps along the road, we are happy to assist. We have been using the system now for just a little bit over the live system for just a little over 2 weeks. So we are still learning as we go. There are a couple of things that we're still sort of ironing out. We thank you so much for your patience as we work to become knowledgeable experts in this system as quickly as possible. And we look forward to working with you all and helping you use Leganto in the future. So thank you, everyone. And again, if you have any questions, reserves@drexel.edu.